good evening, and welcome to the Selection Saturday Kickoff Show right here on both Facebook and YouTube. It's yours truly, Braden Rutherman, about to break out the picks and the lanyards. And away we go. Welcome to week 2, everybody. And not as many lanyards to pick tonight. But we do have a lot of non-lanyard selections to get into the business of picking. So I just want to make sure I have all my cards in tow and in the right order. Wait a minute here. Yeah, we don't need that one. That one's for Saturday. 4 games over the next 2 nights. 1 on Thursday, the remaining 3 on Friday, and the rest, let's see if I can figure this out. 10, 20, 30, 36 non-lanyard games and another 28 lanyard selections. So 64 games to pick from on Saturday. And we're going to knock a good chunk of that out here right now. We're going to take care of the Saturday ones first. Beginning with, he's back, Reese Poffenbarger and the Albany Greyhounds. They're going to Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel as though I have copped a John Maddenism of sorts. When you say Reese Poffenbarger's name, I don't know what it is. It's like Madden and Brett Favre. I don't know why. It's just not a common name, but it's a name that's stuck on me now. Albany's going to Hawaii to take on the Rainbows, and this is where I think the bromance, I suppose, is going to end. No, there's no bromance involved, just so you know, okay? Anyway, Albany and Hawaii. Hawaii's got to win at some point. I said this before, and I'll say it again. They will win some games. I'm just not sure where they're going to come from. This might be one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and ride the rainbow rather than tasting it. Although a bag of Skittles sounds pretty good right now. Tennessee Tech and New Mexico. You know, one of these days I'm going to have to do a composite list of favorite stadiums. New Mexico is one that you probably would not have thought as a favorite of mine. Well, it is. And it's not because New Mexico, the Lobos, play in it. But I warmed up to it when I started watching the New Mexico Bowl over the last several years. It's a nice backdrop. It's open air. I mean, you could probably ride on horseback out of the stadium and all you got is nothing but dirt and shrubs all over the place. I could be wrong. But anyway, Tennessee Tech's in the same boat as Albany. An FCS school and an FBS school. New Mexico's got to win at some point. So go ahead and put 2 on the board for the FBSers. Air Force and Sam Houston. This would be Sam Houston's first home game as an FBS school. And unfortunately, the growing pains will continue for the Bearcats. Got to ride the Falcons. And fly with the Falcons. Take Air Force. Furman and South Carolina. Furman, I love you. But you're not beating the Cox. There, I said it. South Carolina. Montana State and South Dakota State. I love this one. You're talking about 2 teams. Make sure we got 2 fingers up. 2 teams who have been in the FCS playoffs the last 2 years, and I believe 2 years ago they were in the semifinals together. So this should make for a very great game, especially considering that South Dakota State is the defending FCS champions. And plus they're playing at home, and we got to go with the Jackrabbits. Idaho and Nevada, the Vandals, and the Wolfpack. Actually, it sounds better backwards, the Wolfpack and the Vandals. Sounds like a turf war to me. I'm going about this all wrong, and I know it to be true. Anyway, I'm going to go with Idaho in this one. I know it sounds kind of weird, but people forget that there are some FCS schools. See, this is why I got all these helmets, which you'll eventually see when I put the display up later. You know, Idaho, they were in the postseason a year ago. I think they got bounced out either in the first or second round. We were trying to round up all the FCS playoff teams from a year ago, and a good many of them didn't make it in time to get on the tree. So we had to execute a contingency plan of sorts. But I like Idaho to beat Nevada, which now brings us to Houston and Rice. God, I love you, Rice, but it's bad enough you lose to Texas. Now you get a home game against Houston, and Houston's just coming off of a hard-fought win against UTSA. I got a feeling Houston's going to put another one in the win column, so I'm going to go with the Cougars. Okay, Middle Tennessee and Missouri. I almost said Montana State again because of the initials. Everything's written in initials on the card here, with no winners. I'm just reading off a card. It's my teleprompter. Missouri? Sure, why not? I got nothing else. Got nothing else on that one. Memphis and Arkansas State. Well, Arkansas State, if you think losing to Oklahoma was bad, Memphis is coming into your house. They may not be Oklahoma, but I see a win in their future. UConn and Georgia State. Trying to remember what Georgia State did last week, and I don't remember. Actually, I have... Yeah, I still have my cards from last week. Let's see, did they do anything here? We're looking. Looking. I could have sworn I saw Georgia State in here someplace. And they definitely, I don't think they were a lanyard choice a week ago. Have no clue. I'm looking. I can't find them anywhere. I could have sworn they played, though. I mean, I see Georgia and Georgia Southern, but no Georgia State. And I don't even see the initials that spell out GAST, which I suppose would be the best way I could describe Georgia State when they beat UConn. They're going to be gassed. Probably going to be a hard-fought game, too. I mean, UConn's no pushover. Never mind what the records say. Just go with your gut. See, when I do these picks, I go on feel. Sometimes I'll revert to some scouting report, something that I might have seen like 10, 15, 20 years ago. And oh, by the way, when we get down to the business of Murray State and Louisville, I got a little stat line to throw at you for tomorrow night's game, which I found to be pretty interesting. Anyway, Georgia State over UConn at home. Jacksonville State and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina back at home on the teal turf. Chance up. I'm taking the Clears over the Cocks. Another cock reference. We're just counting the days down until the infamous cockfight. Anyway, North Texas and FIU. I was so certain that North Texas would beat Cal last week, and they got thumped. And I thought FIU was going to lose to Louisiana Tech, and I was proven wrong. So what about this one? Do I get a push? No. Gonna go with FIU. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The Fighting Muskrats of Phoenix. The Elon Phoenix and Gardner-Webb. The Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb, who were an FCS playoff team a year ago, and something tells me they want to go back. So go ahead. The Muskrats aren't guarding their musk. If you got the courage, Gardner-Webb, you beat the Elon Phoenix. Go for it. SMU and Oklahoma, enough said. Louisiana and Old Dominion. I believe this is the Ragin' Cajuns' first game of the season. And for Old Dominion, they're coming off of a loss to Virginia Tech. It's a home game for the Monarchs. I still believe that the Ragin' Cajuns have a good enough team to beat Old Dominion. You know, there's a little bit of a skepticism with the Ragin' Cajuns because, a couple years ago, Billy Napier was running the show there and got the Ragin' Cajuns to perhaps the best record in school history, I believe. And needless to say, they took a step back a year ago, but they were still a bowl team. And I think they might be in the conversation again a couple months from now. New Mexico State and Liberty. 2 independents. 2 going in, only 1 coming out. I'm going with Liberty. UAB and Georgia Southern. This is a tough one. A very tough one. I really want to go with the Blazers. I do. I want to. And now here I go again. Yeah, Georgia Southern thumped the Citadel last week. UAB, did they even play last week? I don't see them anywhere. Looking. I think this is their first go-around for the season. But anyway, I'm going to go with Georgia Southern instead. I hate the thought of doing that, but I'm going to go with Georgia Southern over UAB. The Blazers will get their wins. And I'll say this for every team in every game that I'm picking for. Ohio and FAU, got to go with the Bobcats. They played a hard one against San Diego State and only lost by a touchdown, so that tells me they can play with the best of them. Fordham and Buffalo. It's a home game for the Buffalo Bulls. And for the Fordham Rams, they took one on the chin last week, and I'm trying to remember who it was that they played. So again, I got to resort to the card again. And I don't see them anywhere. There's a lot of them on here I don't see. Or maybe there isn't. There's another card in here. Oh, that's the lanyard ones. That's from last week. But anyway, pardon me a moment. Buffalo. Let's go with Buffalo. Buffalo at home. It's an FCSer and an FBSer. Got to go with Buffalo. Tulsa and Washington. Got to go with the Huskies. Having a Desmond Howard flashback. Everybody's in love with Michael Penix. But I'm going to tell you something right now. The Pac-12 is going to go out with a bang. Would you think of everybody involved in this last rodeo? Washington, USC, Oregon, Colorado. And there might be 1 or 2 other ones in there whose names I can't think of right off the top. I mean, we're talking about the Big 4, maybe the Big 6. And when it's all over, it'll only be just 2 teams. Washington over Tulsa. Southeast Louisiana of the FBS and South Alabama. South Alabama lost a tough one at Tulane last week. They're not going to let this one slip. I got to go with South Alabama at home. Austin Peay and Tennessee. No P on Tennessee. There will be some times this year where I'm going to take Austin Peay. They're my team now of the FCS. They probably won't make it to the playoffs. I love their brand new red helmets they're sporting. Their uniforms look sick. But you're going to Rocky Top. And I don't think the ride home is going to be pretty. Tennessee will win that one probably in a rout. Northern Arizona. Almost said Alabama. It all goes back to Northern Arizona and North Alabama. But it is Northern Arizona and North Dakota. I look at North Dakota and I got the initials ND. What do you think of when you think of ND? Notre Dame. But unfortunately, that's not who we got. It's Northern Arizona and North Dakota. I'm not sure about this one, but I got to take North Dakota at home because I think they probably have a better record. They're probably going to have a better record than Northern Arizona by the time the season's over. So, Kent and Arkansas. Really? I don't even know if we should call the Kent Golden Flashes the Golden Flashes because they're pretty much going to be reduced to flickers by the time the season's over. Take Arkansas. Marshall and East Carolina. That is going to be a fun one there. So much so, I really wish this was a lanyard selection. I really do. Marshall, in such games where, the level of unpredictability kind of rides with Marshall, and I say this in part because of what happened last year where they went to South Bend, beat Notre Dame. The very next week, they lost to Bowling Green in overtime. Now, which team's going to show up this week? You're coming off of a win over Albany. Can you beat East Carolina? Show me you can, because I'm taking you. Marshall on the road at East Carolina. Maine and North Dakota State. The Bison. Gotta take the Bison. They're the gold standard of the FCS. Heck yeah, gotta ride with the Bison. Who probably will be in the conversation for the championship game again. And with Maine visiting their beloved dome, no Black Bear's going to survive a Bison attack. I am sorry, I am taking North Dakota State. Texas State, fresh off of their upset win at Baylor last week, go to UTSA, who I'm going to go on record and say that I'm willing to bet they're going to be in a bad mood. After losing to Houston last week, they're back in the Alamo Dome. They're going to take care of business. It may very likely be a rout, too. I'm going to go with UTSA. Western Michigan and Syracuse. There's a part of me that thinks that we've been down this road before with these two schools, because I feel like they played against each other. I know they did at Western Michigan, but I could have sworn this has happened once, maybe twice before, this home and home. And I'm not sure about Western Michigan. I'm actually not sure about any Mid-American Conference Michigan team, except for Eastern Michigan, because they've been, I think, the most consistent of the three Michigan schools in the MAC. But with Western Michigan, they go to Syracuse. Dino Babers is playing with a new deck of cards. He's not one to overplay his hand, and if he does, it depends on the opponent. It'll be somewhat of I think, an easy time up there in the Dome. I'm going to go ahead and take Syracuse in that one over Western Michigan. Miami of Ohio and UMass. Miami of Ohio, fresh removed from their Confusion Bowl loss. That's what they called it on the ACC network. The Confusion Bowl lost to the U. And now they get to play UMass. Miami of Ohio's got to figure out how they're going to be remembered by the end of the year. And right now it might be a long year. I'm going to take UMass at home. This is a reach, because I'm not sure if UMass is capable of it, but I'm going to take my chances on UMass and see if I'm actually smarter than I appear to be. Eastern Kentucky and Kentucky, well, for every bad pick in a game that you're not sure about, there's always a good, sure thing on the back end of it. Got to take Kentucky. Devin Leary will go off in that one, I think. Eastern Illinois and Bowling Green. Did we not talk about Bowling Green just a moment ago? Which team's going to show up? You know, Bowling Green, I've got to go back to the card again. Bowling Green lost to Liberty last week. Eastern Illinois gave me the only blemish amongst those non-Saturday picks when they shut out Indiana State. So I got a funny feeling things will even out this time. Bowling Green, the ball's in your court, or in this case, in your possession. Take it, run with it, win with it. Taking Bowling Green over Eastern Illinois. And if Eastern Illinois wins, I'm going to do my due diligence and make sure that I get a lanyard. I already got the pocket helmet, but I'll get the lanyard if they win. You can book it. New Hampshire and Central Michigan. I think New Hampshire was in the conversation for the FCS playoffs. I don't know if they were actually in them. They probably were, and I just don't remember it, but they're going to Central Michigan, and I got a ride with the Chippewas one time, which probably means that Central Michigan's going to lose. You know how I am with the MAC picks. At least one of you watching this, I think, knows how I am with the MAC picks. Central Michigan. James Madison and Virginia. James Madison, their first game of the season. Virginia, fresh removed from a thumping at Tennessee last week. Virginia's got to turn it around sooner rather than later if they're going to be in any kind of talk this year in the ACC. It's already, stacked with Clemson, Florida State. Who am I leaving out? Duke. Yes, Duke. Duke who beat Clemson the other night. Shoot, we could go all day with the ACC. Pitt, Wake Forest, North Carolina. There's 6 good ones right there, and there's probably a couple, 2 or 3 more in that group. Virginia, you're going to have to steal a couple of wins somewhere, but first things first, build your resume right now. Get the win on Saturday. Delaware and Penn State, that game, by the way, on Peacock, which I don't have, not that I care. Penn State's going to look across the way and think Delaware looks like the Michigan Wolverines because Delaware has the same helmets as Michigan. Mere reflections of each other, only in helmet form. That's probably why Penn State will win this game and not the one later when they do play Michigan. Penn State over Delaware. Ball State and Georgia in a rout. And finally, out of the non-lanyard selections, this is going to be fun. Holy Cross. Welcome to the Selection Saturday Kickoff Show. This is the first time I get to pick a game involving the Holy Cross Crusaders, famous for one man, Gordy Lockbaum. Before you start talking about Travis Hunter of the Colorado Buffaloes and the performance he put on against TCU last week, look up Gordy Lockbaum. The man was a Heisman runner-up, and he too played 2 ways. He was a running back and a defensive back. I think he finished either third or fifth in the Heisman voting behind, wait for it, Doug Flutie of Boston College. However, fast forwarding to 2023, I'm going with an upset because Boston College just hasn't figured themselves out yet. I'm going with Holy Cross to beat Boston College. If Northern Illinois can beat them, so can Holy Cross. That takes care of the non-lanyard selections. And now we get to, well, there is one more. Stony Brook and Rhode Island, which I believe is Friday night. We are now into the Thursday and Friday portions. Stony Brook and Rhode Island, we're off on the road to Rhode Island. And we're on the road to victory. I'm going to be doing that for every Rams game. And I'm sure that I'm sure that for at least one viewer, he's going to get a kick out of it. I do know of one viewer who once upon a time was a 3-time champion for a fantasy football league that I was running, which now we're all retired. And now he's enjoying what I'm doing right now, which is making picks. Going with your Rhode Island Rams, buddy. Now we get to the lanyard selections. First off, Murray State in Louisville, which will be on the ACC network Thursday night. And I must tell you, Murray State has not won against an FBS school since 1984. Kind of ironic that I go from Holy Cross and Boston College to this game when you consider that last win that Holy Cross had in 1984 was against, wait for it, Louisville, 26-23. Saw that little stat line this morning in preparation for these picks. Well, fast forwarding to 2023, I don't think that's going to happen on Thursday, so I'm going with Louisville. Which now brings us to Indiana State in Indiana. Well, this should be a piece of cake right now. Because Indiana State, you disappointed me. You got shut out at home. And now you're going to pay the price for it against your in-state rivals, who don't even appear to be rivals to me in a rival sense. Indiana, you only scored 3 points, which may be all that you might score in this one. But I'd imagine things will improve for the Hoosiers. So, Indiana, now you're on board with me. Go take care of business. And finally, this last one. By the way, that first off, the Indiana State game played in Bloomington will be Friday night, as will Stony Brook and Rhode Island also on Friday. And there's one more pick to be made, and that is Illinois and Kansas, which ESPN2 rather, is bringing to you. And I got to tell you something. I've been wrestling with this for several days now. This is a game where I hate to even think of making a pick, because on the one hand, I love Illinois. I would love for them to get a win to kind of build their resume a little bit. It's the kind of game where if they win, a loss in conference play won't hurt as much. I mean, it still will hurt, yeah. But I think it depends on which losses will come up down the road. This is a game right here I don't think they can afford to lose, because it is against a quality opponent in Kansas. Now, Kansas, are they the real deal? They were a year ago. Started out with 5 straight wins and almost tanked it at the end, but they ended up winning, I think, 1 game in the final 6 to assure themselves of a trip to the Liberty Bowl, where they lost to Arkansas. So I don't really know how to go about picking this. I guess I will always root for Illinois. And, much like a lot of the games that I pick, there will be times where I will pick Illinois, and in a case like this one, I'm going to root against them. Never thought I would say this, but Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. Going to go with the Jayhawks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us to the end of our time together for the Selection Saturday Kickoff Show. For all things in picks and in lanyards, tune in on Saturday, where we'll be doing it all again from home as I pick and sport the lanyards of the teams I'm picking on Saturday on both Facebook and YouTube. Until then, from all of me to all of you, it's BR signing off for the Selection Saturday Kickoff Show. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you Saturday morning.